Britain's former Prince Andrew has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, he was taken into custody in Norfolk just a short while ago. He is accused of allegedly sharing confidential information with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Mountbatten Windsor has previously denied any wrongdoing over his ties to Epstein. King Charles had stripped his brother of his titles back in October and has since evicted him from Windsor.
What happens when a senior royal faces formal criminal charges under the UK legal system? Earlier today, reports emerged that officers from the Metropolitan Police arrived at Royal Lodge with a warrant connected to Prince Andrew. Within hours, court filings, official statements, and international reaction began unfolding, raising questions not only about his legal situation, but about the wider implications for the monarchy itself. Was this simply the next step in a long-running investigation, or a turning point for one of Britain's most scrutinized public figures? In this video, we break down what has been publicly reported, what the court documents say, and what could come next, based strictly on available information. Earlier today, Metropolitan Police officers were seen entering Royal Lodge with an arrest warrant reportedly connected to Prince Andrew. According to public court filings in London, the action follows an investigation said to have been ongoing for more than a year. The palace later released a brief statement acknowledging the development, though specific details remain limited. Witnesses described a calm but tense atmosphere around the estate as officers and representatives from the Crown Prosecution Service arrived through a private entrance to avoid media attention. Sources close to the matter indicated that authorities acted according to standard legal procedure. Detective Chief Inspector Margaret Thornhill, who has been publicly associated with the investigation, was seen arriving at the property earlier in the morning. At this time, officials have not provided further comment, and it remains unclear what the next steps in the legal process will be. According to widely circulated reports, officers presented a warrant and formally informed Prince Andrew of charges related to alleged obstruction of justice and providing false statements. As outlined in standard procedure, he was cautioned and advised of his legal rights. Sources indicate that arrangements had been made in advance for him to attend proceedings following discussions between his legal team and prosecutors. Authorities have not publicly detailed those discussions, but officials confirmed that the process followed established legal protocol. He was then transported to a magistrate's court in central London in an unmarked vehicle. The hearing reportedly took place in a smaller courtroom, consistent with routine scheduling and security considerations. Court officials have emphasized that proceedings remain subject to the normal judicial process, and no further conclusions have been announced at this stage. Fewer than 30 individuals were reportedly present at the initial court appearance, including officials, legal representatives, and a limited number of accredited journalists. During the brief hearing, prosecutors outlined charges related to alleged obstruction of justice, false statements made under oath, and interference connected to an ongoing investigation. When asked to enter a plea, Prince Andrew responded, "Guilty," according to multiple media reports. The court then proceeded with standard protocol. Bail was set at £500,000, secured against declared assets, and his passport was surrendered as part of the conditions. A sentencing hearing has reportedly been scheduled for January 23, 2025. Shortly after the session concluded, Buckingham Palace released a short statement confirming that the king had been informed of the developments. Further proceedings will continue under the established legal process. In a brief public statement, Buckingham Palace described the situation as deeply regrettable and noted that the Duke of York is no longer a working member of the royal family. The statement added that the matter is now before the courts and that no further comment would be provided. Observers pointed out the careful wording, particularly the decision not to reference his royal title. International reaction has varied. In the United States, where aspects of the wider Epstein case were previously investigated, some commentators questioned the timing and scope of the legal action. Others emphasized that the case should be viewed through the lens of the judicial process rather than public debate. Reports indicate that the investigation involved a review of financial records authorized in 2023 as part of broader inquiries connected to Jeffrey Epstein's network. Authorities have not released detailed findings, and proceedings remain ongoing under UK law. According to reporting referenced in court documents, investigators reviewed financial records showing payments totaling more than £2 million from accounts linked to Prince Andrew between 2010 and 2015. One transaction, identified through coordination with U.S. banking authorities, reportedly occurred shortly after public allegations first emerged in 2015. Officials have not publicly stated that these payments alone constituted criminal conduct. The focus of the case appears to have shifted following digital forensic analysis conducted in 2023. Authorities were granted access to certain devices and accounts used during the relevant period. Media coverage indicates that recovered communications from 2014 and 2015 discussed approaches to handling witness statements. Prosecutors have suggested these exchanges raised concerns about potential interference, while defense representatives have maintained they reflected standard legal preparation. Court filings also reference statements made under oath in a prior deposition. Investigators allege that some claims were inconsistent with other documented communications regarding knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein and related investigations. The matter continues through the judicial process. Court reporting indicates that Prince Andrew previously questioned the authenticity of a widely circulated photograph and stated he did not recall the circumstances surrounding it. Investigators later reviewed those claims alongside other documented communications. Prosecutors have argued that certain statements went beyond simple memory lapses, while his legal team has maintained that any inconsistencies reflected confusion rather than intent. The inquiry has also involved cooperation between UK authorities and US agencies. According to public sources, information gathered during American investigations was shared with British officials in line with legal agreements. Some materials reportedly included witness accounts that were not presented in open court in the United States, but were reviewed by investigators. Additional attention has focused on reports that electronic records and documents were removed or deleted in 2019. Former staff members have stated they were instructed to carry out routine data management, while prosecutors have suggested the timing raised further questions. The Crown Prosecution Service has confirmed that charging decisions followed an extended review of available evidence. According to individuals familiar with the process, the decision to move forward with charges followed an extended legal review. Prosecutors were said to have considered the broader constitutional context, given Prince Andrew's former role within the royal family. Ultimately, officials concluded that the evidentiary threshold for prosecution had been met. Reports indicate that Andrew's legal team was presented with the scope of the case during a formal disclosure meeting several weeks before the arrest. Media sources suggest that discussions then focused on legal options available under the circumstances. Separately, it has been reported that senior members of the royal family were formally notified through established constitutional channels that charges would be filed. Commentators note that such notification is customary in matters with potential institutional implications. Public statements since then have emphasized that the legal process operates independently and that no individual is exempt from judicial proceedings. Commentary surrounding the case has suggested that senior members of the royal family face difficult considerations once informed of the impending charges. Analysts note that, in matters involving constitutional significance, legal advisors typically outline a range of theoretical options, including how public communication and institutional cooperation might be handled. Reports indicate that one possible approach would have involved maintaining distance from the legal process, while another would emphasize full cooperation and respect for judicial independence. Observers have pointed out that any perception of interference could carry reputational consequences, particularly in today's media environment. Publicly, the palace has stated that the matter is before the courts and that it will not comment further. Constitutional experts have since highlighted that the UK legal system operates independently of the monarchy and that prosecutorial decisions are made by the relevant authorities. As proceedings continue, discussion has largely focused on institutional accountability and the long-term implications for the monarchy's public standing. Media analysis has also focused on questions surrounding legal funding. Reports over the past several years have suggested that portions of Prince Andrew's legal expenses were supported through private family resources. With criminal proceedings now underway, commentators have speculated about whether any further financial assistance would continue. According to sources cited in national newspapers, senior royals discussed the broader implications of continued support, including public perception and accountability. Some observers have argued that maintaining financial backing during criminal proceedings could raise concerns, while others note that such decisions are ultimately private family matters. No detailed breakdown of funding arrangements has been publicly confirmed. It has also been reported that government officials were informed in advance of the arrest through established channels, reflecting the constitutional relationship between the monarchy and the state. The palace has since reiterated that the case is before the courts and that it will cooperate as required. Further developments will unfold within the judicial process. According to media accounts, Prince Andrew was informed in advance that the royal household would not intervene in the legal process. Reports suggest the message, delivered through official channels, made clear that he would proceed without institutional assistance. Individuals familiar with the situation have described the conversation as formal and brief. Commentators have interpreted this as a reflection of the monarchy's effort to maintain distance from ongoing court proceedings. Buckingham Palace has publicly stated that the matter is now before the courts and that it will not provide further comment. Separate reports indicate that Sarah Ferguson was notified shortly before the arrest became public. In subsequent media coverage, attention turned to how those close to Andrew would respond, though no detailed public statement was issued at that time. As with other aspects of the case, much of the reporting relies on unnamed sources, and official confirmation has remained limited while proceedings continue. Following the announcement of the charges, public attention also turned to Sarah Ferguson and how she might respond. Commentators noted that any public show of support could carry reputational implications, particularly given her charitable affiliations and professional commitments. According to media reports, Sarah held discussions with legal advisors and representatives connected to the organizations she supports. Some outlets suggested that continued public association could create challenges for certain charities, especially those focused on women's welfare. No official statements from those organizations have confirmed specific ultimatums. Legal analysts have also observed that, while she has not been accused of wrongdoing, individuals close to high-profile cases can sometimes be called as witnesses in related proceedings. As of now, Sarah Ferguson has not issued a detailed public statement outlining her position. Observers note that any decision regarding her personal or professional ties remains a private matter, unfolding alongside the broader legal process. In the days following the court developments, media coverage suggested that Sarah Ferguson faced difficult personal decisions regarding how to respond publicly. Commentators noted the balance between private loyalty and professional reputation, particularly given her ongoing charitable and public work. According to reports, she consulted closely with family members and advisors before issuing a statement. When it was released, the message expressed sympathy for those affected while emphasizing respect for the legal process. It did not outline specific changes to her personal relationship, instead focusing on supporting her family and requesting privacy. Reaction to the statement varied across press and social media, with differing interpretations about what it signaled. However, no further clarification has been formally issued. As of now, her position appears to remain measured and limited to acknowledging the seriousness of the situation while allowing the judicial proceedings to continue independently. In practical terms, several changes were reported in the weeks following the court developments. Some charities with which Sarah Ferguson is affiliated have adjusted her role, according to media coverage, placing greater emphasis on behind-the-scenes involvement rather than public appearances. A number of scheduled speaking engagements were also postponed. There have also been reports regarding future living arrangements at Royal Lodge, though specific timelines have not been formally detailed in public statements. Financial commentators have noted that any shift in private support arrangements could have broader personal implications, but exact figures have not been confirmed. Public discussion has additionally focused on how other family members may navigate their own professional and personal responsibilities amid the situation. As for Prince Andrew, attention now turns to the sentencing hearing scheduled for January 23rd. The court will determine the outcome based on established legal guidelines, and further details are expected following those proceedings. Legal analysts reviewing the reported charges have outlined how UK sentencing guidelines may apply. Obstruction of justice is generally treated as a serious offense, with sentencing ranges depending on factors such as intent, impact on proceedings, and any efforts to interfere with evidence or testimony. Public commentary has suggested that such offenses can carry multi-year custodial terms, subject to judicial discretion. Additional counts related to false statements under oath may also influence the overall sentence. While penalties vary based on context, courts typically consider whether the statements materially affected legal proceedings. Under standard UK practice, a guilty plea can result in a reduction of sentence, often calculated as a percentage discount for accepting responsibility and avoiding a full trial. However, final determinations rest with the presiding judge, who weighs aggravating and mitigating factors, including the defendant's conduct and any expression of remorse. Formal sentencing guidelines provide a framework, but the ultimate decision will be made in court at the scheduled hearing. If a custodial sentence is imposed, the hearing is expected to take place in a single session, during which both prosecution and defense would outline their positions on an appropriate penalty. Prosecutors are likely to focus on the seriousness of obstruction-related offenses and the broader implications for the integrity of legal proceedings. Defense counsel may point to the guilty plea and any cooperation shown after arrest as mitigating factors. Court procedures also allow for impact statements in cases where actions have affected others involved in related legal matters. Reports indicate that written submissions may be considered as part of the sentencing process. Should imprisonment be ordered, placement within the prison system would be determined by correctional authorities based on security assessments. High-profile individuals are typically housed in units designed to manage safety and operational concerns. Parole eligibility in the UK generally begins after a portion of the sentence has been served, subject to behavior and review by an independent board. Final decisions will rest with the court and relevant authorities. Beyond the UK proceedings, legal analysts have noted that civil cases in the United States remain active. Observers suggest that developments in the British criminal court could be referenced in those matters, depending on the rules governing admissible evidence. Any financial judgments or settlements would be determined separately through the civil system. As the January 23rd sentencing date approaches, commentators have discussed possible outcomes under UK guidelines, though final decisions rest solely with the court. Estimates published in the press remain speculative until a formal ruling is issued. The situation has also prompted discussion about constitutional considerations, including Prince Andrew's position in the line of succession. Current legislation does not automatically remove an individual due to a criminal conviction. Constitutional experts have noted that any change would require formal legal steps and potentially parliamentary involvement. To date, no official announcement has confirmed alterations to succession arrangements, and the matter remains subject to established legal processes. Constitutional commentators have also examined the technical questions surrounding titles and succession. While certain honorary styles had previously been set aside, the underlying peerage title remains a matter of law unless addressed through parliamentary action. Some members of parliament have publicly discussed the possibility of introducing legislation related to titles, though no final measures have been enacted to date. Reports have indicated that official royal communications and online materials have been updated over time to reflect Prince Andrew's current non-working status. Adjustments to imagery and references are not uncommon when roles within the royal household change, and observers note that such updates are typically handled through internal review processes. More broadly, analysts suggest that the situation presents ongoing reputational considerations for the monarchy. Commentators have framed it as part of a wider discussion about transparency, accountability, and modernization within the institution. As legal proceedings continue, constitutional and public perspectives are likely to evolve alongside formal outcomes. Commentators have suggested that recent events may influence ongoing discussions about the future structure of the monarchy. Prince William has previously spoken about the idea of a smaller group of working royals focused on clearly defined public duties. Analysts note that situations involving senior family members can intensify conversations about standards, oversight, and institutional accountability. Internationally, some Commonwealth nations have continued debates about their constitutional arrangements. In several Caribbean countries, discussions about transitioning to republican models were already underway, and observers say high-profile controversies can shape public opinion in those debates. However, any constitutional change would depend on domestic political processes within those nations. More broadly, historians point out that the monarchy has faced periods of scrutiny in the past and has responded through gradual adaptation. Public attitudes toward hereditary institutions continue to evolve, influenced by transparency, relevance, and the conduct of individual members. As legal proceedings move forward, the longer-term impact on the institution remains a subject of ongoing public discussion rather than settled fact. As legal proceedings continue, broader questions about the monarchy's long-term role have resurfaced in public debate. Analysts and historians have long examined how hereditary institutions adapt to modern expectations around transparency, accountability, and merit. Recent events have brought those discussions into sharper focus. Some commentators ask whether a system rooted in tradition can continue to evolve in a society that increasingly evaluates leadership through contemporary legal and ethical standards. Others argue that the monarchy has historically demonstrated an ability to adjust during periods of scrutiny, maintaining continuity while responding to changing public attitudes. For now, the institution remains in place, and its constitutional framework is unchanged. Whether public confidence will be strengthened, weakened, or remain steady over time is a matter for citizens to assess. What do you think about the monarchy's future in light of these developments? Share your perspective in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for continued balanced coverage as this story unfolds.